Change is in the air for regional Queensland, where at least one electorate is guaranteed a new representative from the federal election after its former MP George Christensen went rogue. Key points: George Christensen has announced he would run for the Australian Senate as a candidate in the One Nation Party. George Christensen has announced he would run for the Australian Senate as a candidate in the One Nation Party. He left his former seat of Dawson, which is held by the Liberal National Party, with a very safe margin. He left his former seat of Dawson, which is held by the Liberal National Party, with a very safe margin. Constituents in the regional Queensland seat are seeking support for coal mining, the sugar industry, and the Great Barrier Reef. Mr. Christensen was a thorn in the Liberal National Party's side until the end, sensationally quitting the party and Parliament last week before pledging his allegiance to Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party. He today announced he would run third on its Senate ticket at May 21st election, with his former constituents left to elect a new member for Dawson, where the futures of coal and coral collides. Mr. Christensen has a reputation for ruffling feathers due to his comments urging adults not to get their children vaccinated against COVID-19, and for controversial views about net zero emissions and abortion. But away from Canberra, Mr. Christensen's stubbornness was what many locals liked best. George Christensen was condemned for his views on COVID-19 vaccines for children. He secured 4 terms as the local member by advocating for major infrastructure projects and more affordable insurance, as well as for sugar, mining, and resources in the region. Local cafe owner David Padden said Mr. Christensen was a rare breed of politician. "Our concerns are, what happens when a strong individual like that goes," he said. "It is a very diverse electorate. We need someone that understands it." David Padden wants a Dawson MP who will advocate for small businesses. Coal and coral. The seat of Dawson encompasses more than 350 kilometres of the Queensland coast, including towns such as Bowen, Airlie Beach and Mackay. The regional centres act as gateways to both the Great Barrier Reef and Queensland's coal mining areas. The LNP holds the seat with a 14.6% margin and is pinning its hopes on Whitsunday Mayor Andrew Wilcox as its candidate, while Labor contender Shane Hamilton is trying to woo voters as well. With George Christensen aiming for the Senate, One Nation has selected businessperson Julie Hall to contest the seat, which saw a 13.1% swing towards Pauline Hanson's party in 2019. The electorate of Bowen often displays strong support for mining projects. Some believe it was resource-heavy communities like Dawson that drove the swing away from Labor at the last federal election in 2019. That feeling of being ignored at the last election is still there by people, Bowen publican and chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, Bruce Heddich said. Particularly people in the resources industry. "From where I sit and what I hear in the bar, people in those industries are saying to themselves, can we afford a change?" Bruce Heddich from the Chamber of Commerce says resources needs more political attention. Tourism a hot topic. But while the resources sector is a major employer in the electorate, so too is tourism, creating an uneasy marriage. Lindsay Simpson wanted to ensure her sailing business had a future at Airlie Beach. "The Great Barrier Reef is central to our business, like it is for 70,000 others," she said. "I'm not sure what other evidence people need to realize the reef is in danger." Ms. Simpson felt Mr. Christensen did not take concerns about climate change and the health of the reef seriously. "I didn't see that he believed in the environment or understood the importance of it to the electorate," she said. Lindsay Simpson says George Christensen's attitude to the environment was lacking. Bowen tourism and business manager Leanne Abernethy said balancing the region's competing interests was critical. "We want to make sure that the new federal member does understand that here, in Bowen, we have farming, mining, retail and tourism," she said. Cane farming concerns. While the workforce that supported mining and resource projects in neighbouring regions largely resided in Dawson, the electorate itself was at the heart of the Australian sugar industry. Cane growers who have struggled to turn a profit wanted a representative who would advocate for their livelihoods. Third-generation farmer Peter Hall, based in Clare, did not trust Labor's commitment to this cause due to its approach to reef regulations at a state government level. Peter Hall does not believe the agricultural sector can afford a Labor government. It's been so bad on the state level that, if we have the same happening on a federal level, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, or out of business, he said. We're getting higher input costs because of these regulations and restrictions. In Proserpine, fourth-generation cane farmer Grace McDonald also faced business challenges. She said this included the increasing price of fertilizer and chemicals, finding workers, and the current volatility of the world market. Grace McDonald says growers want action on input costs and supply chain issues. Healthcare woes. Access to healthcare in resource communities like Dawson also remained a critical issue. In Bowen, a shortage of general practitioners meant the public hospital emergency room was often crowded with patients who needed non-urgent medical attention. Elizabeth Westwood said the situation was unsustainable for seniors like herself. One of the biggest issues in Bowen is the lack of doctors staying, she said. It sometimes takes weeks to be able to get an appointment to see a doctor. It means lots of trips out of town for people. Access to healthcare is a critical issue in Dawson, particularly for elderly residents. Looking to the future. Dean Kirkwood was general manager at the Resource Industry Network, which represented mining equipment, technology, and services in the region. He said job security in resources and mining would be on voters' minds, but that did not mean the community was not interested in addressing climate change. Decarbonizing the mining industry is a critical point. It's not going to fall off the agenda at any time, he said. It's about embracing that. We want a candidate that will engage in that future. M to mute, left and right arrows to seek, up and down arrows for volume. Watch 4 minutes 54 seconds 4 minutes, and 54 seconds the key battlegrounds in the 2022 federal election.